Shana can be the easiest year, and it can also be the hardest year. Why it so often turns out to be the hardest year, I don't know. If it can go either way, why shouldn't it go the easier way more often? Why should it be hard? What would make it hard? It's expressed very often in very simple language. When people say they're upset and they're regretting and how do they say it? What are the words? The words are, it's not what I thought it would be. I can't take this. It's not what I thought it would be. So if somebody came to you and said that, how would you respond? As Chassidim, what would you say? Even without Chassidus, it's not what you thought it would be. So where is the chesron? In what is, or in what you thought? It's like saying, oh, this is marriage. No, it's not what I thought. It's not what you thought, but this is marriage. So is the marriage wrong, or is what you thought wrong? Should you undo the marriage, or should you undo what you thought? So a guy comes to me and says, I'm getting divorced because it's not what I thought it would be. It's not what you thought it would be. Welcome to the real world. You don't like reality? What are you going to do? Go to the moon? That's even if you don't have a munah. That everything is b'hashgacha pratis and everything is meant to be v'cholu v'cholu v'cholu. Of course, the problem is, I can have perfect emunah that if I get into a car accident, it's all meant to be, because I didn't pick the car accident. But since I picked my wife, is that really hashgacha pratis, or did I just make a stupid mistake? And that's part of the problem with our whole attitude towards marriage. The secular attitude in marriage is, I'm doing it because I have a great idea. I think it's going to be wonderful. I'm going to have this, that, and the other, and it'll be good. It's nice to know that the person I'm going to marry is also basheret. But primarily, this is my project. My choice, my decision, my personality, It's very hard to combine that much choice with hashgacha pratis. It's really bashert. Somebody once came to Rabbi Chadakov. He was on shlichus and he wanted to leave shlichus. So he comes, sits down, and he gives his whole painful description of how much he suffers, and it's not working, and he's got problems, and and Rabbi Chadakov said, no, it's like Parshas Vayeshev, so you stay where you are. So he said, okay, I'll come back in Parshas Vayetze. And then I'll be able to leave. Like, I'm giving you a serious problem, you're telling me Parshas Vayeshev? What kind of answer is that? No, but hashgacha pratis is Parshas Vayeshev, so you have... How does hashgacha pratis come in when I'm telling you I've got a problem? I went on the wrong shlichus. So it's hard to combine, think about it, go out, date, check it out, see if it's for you, make yourself comfortable, find out if it's right, make sure that, and then, it's Hashgacha Pratis. That's what the Yidden had a problem. The Meraglim had a problem going into Eretz Yisrael. What happened? All of a sudden their emunah failed. With Amalek they had no problem. With Mitzrayim they had no problem. Kriyas Yamsuf was not a problem. Oh, going into Eretz Yisrael, no, that's a problem. What happened? What happened was, the Eibishter said to them in Mitzrayim, come with me, I'll take care of everything. They said, that's great. I have emunah. Then the Eibishter said, okay, now go into Eretz Yisrael and do it yourself. They said, can't do that. The Eibishter said, you go into Eretz Yisrael, it's not going to be miracles. Make an army, get the best soldiers, use the best strategies, fight the war, and take the land. They said, no, can't do that. They couldn't combine. You're going to do it al pi teva. You're going to follow the logical, natural path, and you will be matzliach. You said, wait. If you're talking b'teva, we can't do it. We're one, and they're 31 lamed aleph malachim. Can't do it al pi teva. Saber says, don't worry, I'll help you. Oh, you'll help? So you do it. And Taka, that's what happened. What happened? They come to Yericho, and the Eibishter says, get your army, attack Yericho with a shofar. What? We need an army to blow shofar? Send a gabbai. One shmendrik will go and blow shofar, the walls will fall down. What was all this army business? And Moshe was angry at the two Shvatim who wanted to stay. You're the best soldiers, you're going to let them fight, and you're going to... No, we'll come, we'll fight. Good, blow shofar. This combination of Hashgacha Pratis and Bechira, it's very confusing. So if I'm basher to marry somebody, give me her name and I'll get married. What's with the dating business? Personality check, eHarmony, what is all that? It's all Hashgacha Pratis, so fine, so let's get married. No, you got to check it out. So if I check it out and I make a stupid mistake, so it's a mistake. No, Hashgacha Pratis. How does that work? So you could say like this: are you usually stupid? Are you in the habit of making stupid decisions? If yeah, then you think I have a question. But if you don't always make stupid decisions, grade when it comes to this, you made a stupid decision. No, you see the Hashgacha Pratis? But Hashgacha Pratis, when it came to this, your brain failed you. By Hashgacha Pratis. Getting married means you're introducing a foreign substance into your life. As much as you find things in common and as much as you like what you see and you like what you hear, saf kol saf. This is another person with another opinion, with another set of needs that are not yours. Even something as simple as schedule. You need to be in this, have breakfast at this hour. She needs to have breakfast at another hour. This is a problem. You've introduced a foreign substance into your life. You know what morning sickness is? I hope you do. Morning sickness means There's a foreign substance in the body, and the body is trying to throw it up. It's a nice way to welcome a kid into the world, right? Oh, you're making me nauseous. I want to throw you up. But that's what it is. The body doesn't understand. What is this? This is not me. What is it doing in me? So the natural defense system says, throw it up. Get rid of it. Takes a couple of months until the body makes peace with this foreign intrusion. The same is true with the marriage itself. It could take a year before your system stops trying to throw up. Get this thing out of my life. So there's a natural defense that says, if it's not me, then what's it doing in my life? What do I have to put up with it? This is not me. That, in fact, is part of the biggest meile, the biggest edelkeit that marriage brings, is that you can actually make room for another foreign substance in your life and actually like it. What is that called in Chassidus? It's called bittul. Bittul hametzias. You developed a certain metzias. This is what I consider my life. This is me. And all of a sudden, something disturbs that. Someone disturbs that picture. And that's why people say, it's not what I thought it would be. No. You're not what you thought you would be. Because you had a picture of yourself, and something is disturbing that picture. So either you say, no, I'm not giving up my picture. This is me. Or you say, okay, so now this is me. So the me has to become bigger. It feels like you're becoming smaller. If something is denying your metzias, it's making you smaller. But man de ihu rav, ihu ze'ed. If you have bittul, then instead of becoming smaller because somebody else exists, you become bigger. That's basically the challenge of marriage. Marriage means, are you big enough for two? 3. Is your life, your definition of yourself, your picture of yourself, is it big enough for only one? Is it big enough for 2? Is it big enough for 12? How big can you be? So at first, that can be very painful. Can be as uncomfortable as a pregnancy. What's the practical approach? What do you do to make things work well? So the Torah says that Shana Rishona Noki Yihi Yelabese. You have to be free and available, and to do what? V'simachas ishtei. Make her happy. So you can approach all things in life with the same dilemma. I'm not happy. What should I do? I mean, just in Yiddishkeit in general. I should serve the Eibishter. Ivdu es Hashem b'simcha. I'm not b'simcha. I've got problems. I'm not happy. So what are you telling me to do? Make the Eibishter happy. And what about me? So you can approach it in one of two ways. Either I can't make somebody else happy, if I'm not happy? How is that going to work? Or you can say, if I can make someone else happy, I'll be happy. That will be my happiness. So the first year, you can approach it in one of two ways. You can either say, whoa, this is not making me happy. So the Torah comes along and says, that's probably going to happen. But what is your response? Your response should be, v'simach hasishtei. Stop trying to be happy. Make her happy. That's a much more proactive, to use a modern term, it's much more proactive option than to say, no, I got to make myself happy first. I got to stop being unhappy first. But that's b'chlal what Yiddishkeit is. You're not the biggest tzaddik in the world, but you're telling everybody else on Mivtzoyim to, shouldn't you first become? No. Tell everybody else. Don't wait till you have a lishma. Do what is right for somebody else. What's going to happen with you? If you make somebody else happy, that can become your happiness. Instead of going the torturous route, first I have to get rid of my sadness, then I have to make myself happy, then I'll try to make somebody else happy. By the time you do that, you're an old man. So the proactive approach is simply what it says in Torah. Shana Rishona v'simach hasishtei. People ask the question, the Mishnah says, Da mashatoshuv lapaketus. That's it, that's the whole Mishnah. And people say, well, thank you very much. You should know what to tell an apaketus. I should know? Tell me what to say to an apaketus. What do you tell? You're telling me I should know. Like saying, hop seichel. Thank you. I'll try really hard to hop seichel. So what does that mean? What kind of instruction is this? Da mashatoshuv. If you're not going to tell me, how am I supposed to know? So what are you saying? Go learn. So say so. Learn in order to know what to tell him. But the way the Mishnah says it, it's like, get smart. Get smart. So Rabbi Yoel says, you know why it doesn't tell you what to say to an apaketus? Because what you're supposed to say to an apaketus is not fit to print. You know what I mean. You know, I can't write it down, but what does it mean? V'simach hasishtei. Thank you very much. Make her happy. Excuse me, can you give me some suggestions? Who is her? What makes her happy? What are you talking about? Go make her happy. Are we supposed to know instinctively, naturally, what v'simach hasishtei means? And suppose you try, and it's not working. Now you're really miserable. I'm simaching her. It's not working. So when you're desperate, you actually say to her, excuse me, I'm trying to do what I'm supposed to do. Can you help me out? What makes you happy? And then the problems really begin. Because she doesn't know either. She really doesn't know. Well, I'd be very happy if you, yeah, so you try that, and she doesn't know. How should she know? She's never been married before either. So when she reads v'simach hasishtei, she says, whoa, that's great. What does it mean? It's his job, not mine. So then you feel guilty. Then you feel like a total loser. You just got married. She's already not happy. You don't know how to make her happy. You're supposed to make her happy. You're failing on all levels. You're not doing what Torah says. You're not doing what you intended to do. You don't know what she wants. This whole thing's a mess. So you try harder. And it gets worse. What does v'simach es ishtei mean? Do you have any idea? Be nice to her. I am nice to her. It's not working. Nice is a very fuzzy word. So what does v'simach es ishtei mean? According to some Mefarshim, v'simach es ishtei means get her pregnant. Because eim habonim smeicha. If she becomes a mother, she'll be happy. Not good enough. By the way, is that what it means? Eim habonim smeicha. Until she becomes a mother, she'll never be happy. A wife is never happy. A mother can be happy. It's a strange expression. V'simach es ishtei. He should be noki yir lebeisei, to provide for his wife, to support it. What does v'simach mean? And the main question is, she just got married. Why isn't she not already happy? You have to make her happy? Marrying her is not good enough? She was pretty happy at the wedding. What happens after the wedding? Now you have a year's job. It takes a year to make her happy. You'd think she's a kala, she's a Shana Rishona. Of course she's happy. She's not rich, so work on that. What does it mean, simcha peiritz geder? Which geder are we talking about? Simcha peiritz geder. There's a natural geder, which is your limits, your definition of yourself, your metzius. That's a geder. Simcha is peiritz geder. Simcha opens up the possibility of something more than yourself. When you're besimcha, you're open to things that otherwise you're not comfortable with. Like it says in Maimonim, the chasana of b'nei yechidei, you are so happy that you want your enemies to come to the party and enjoy it. You're not open to that when you're not besimcha. He's your enemy. You want to see him suffer. You don't want him at your simcha, and you certainly don't want him to be happy. But simcha peiritz geder, when you're really besimcha, those gedarim fall away. Enemy, friend, old problems, revenge, it falls away. Not because it's bad, because you should never have an enemy, you should never be angry at any. No. You have changed. Your borders, your geder has opened up. V'simach es ishtei means she wants to be you. She wants to be Mrs. Goldberg, Iceberg, whatever. She doesn't want to be her anymore. She wants to be you. That doesn't work when you're not besimcha. It takes a certain simcha to open up that geder to allow her to be what she wants to be. And she wants to be you. So why isn't it her job to make you happy? Because you don't need that. You don't want to be her. She wants to be you. She has a harder job. You want to take care of her. You want to support her. She wants to be you. For that, you need a higher level of simcha. And what gives her that simcha? Naki yihi elebeisei. What does that mean? Don't go to the army. Don't have a job. Naki yihi elebeisei. She needs to know that there is nothing that interferes in your relationship with her. Nothing. She is it. If she doesn't feel that, then she can't. Then she's not besimcha. Takes about a year. In fact, if Torah says a year, it must be exactly a year. It can't be less, and it shouldn't be more. It should take a year. By the end of the year, she knows that you are noki lebese. That in your life and in your mind and in your heart, she's it. She's it. Nothing takes you away from that. Now she's happy. So what can you do to make her happy? Buy her things, give her things, compliment her. That's all fine. By the way, you don't stop doing that at the end of the first year. That you do forever. And that you did before you were married. What is it that the Shana Rishona? The Shana Rishona is not, you don't make her happy by giving her things. You make her happy by convincing her, by assuring her that she is it. There's no place else you'd rather be. There's no one else that you'd rather have. She's it. How do you prove that to her? How do you convince her of that? Buying her things helps. Thinking about her. Showing. The best thing is, get into a big fight. And she becomes really nasty. Like only she knows how. And after that fight, she is absolutely sure you're going to leave. Because she knows how nasty she can be. And no one can take it when she's nasty. And you don't leave? Wow. She gave it her best shot. And it didn't knock you out? Whoa. Now she knows this thing is for real. A woman told me she was married 3 years. 3 years. And she told me, you know, this week I discovered I'm really married. It was like she was thrilled. I'm really married. I said, what happened? She was in a car accident. And she saw herself hitting the car. I mean, you see it happen in the last couple of seconds as it's happening. You say, I'm in an accident. This car is coming, right? So you see it happening, and you know that's it. And her reaction is, she called her husband. She screamed his name, like, "Where are you? Come help me." And afterwards she thought, whoa, every time that happened before, I called my father. I didn't call my father, I called him. I'm married. When your first thought, when you're really sober, when you're really serious, and your first thought is him, oh, that's what being married means. Wow, I'm married. So for a girl, it's you replace her father as the first responder. the first thought, the muskelrishon becomes you instead of a father. That's like, this is real. This is for real. He's not my best friend. It's much more. She needs to know that that's how you think. That your first reaction when something happens, the first reaction is, gotta tell my wife. Not that if you're in a car accident, you're depending on her to come help you. That's a reversal of roles. But everything that happens, your first thought is this going to make her happy? Should I tell her? Not. She's your first thought in every. If she knew that would make her happy. And that takes a year. I don't mean to make the comparison, but when you go to Gehenna, it takes about a year. So if you get through the first year of the Shana Rishona, you've done your time. You don't have to go to Gehenna after that. Talking to people, doing marriage counseling, giving people, advice before they're married, after they're married, during their marriage, divorced people. There's one thing that I see so clearly, and it's every detail in Hilchas Ishus is so absolutely necessary. I always thought, and I'm sure most people think this way, there's what you have to do, Halacha, there's Lefnim Meshuras Hadin, there's Chumras, there's Harchokes, there's Minhagim. They're not all the same. So if you're not the biggest tzaddik in the world, you don't take all of that so seriously. You'll do what the halacha says, but you're not at such a level that you're going to do all that. It's not levels. People who are not at all frum, they're not at all. You look at their marriage and you can see the problem is that they don't follow what it says. I don't want to get into details, but I can talk to a couple who are having terrible problems for years and years and years with their children, with themselves, and it's so clear that their problem is that they're not sneas in the bedroom. You can just see it. The way they talk to each other, like, I bet you keep the light on when you're being intimate. And you see it. There is nothing in Hilchas Ishus that isn't absolutely necessary for practical, everyday life. It's a very painful thing to say to people, so I can't say it to them. I can't say, you know the reason your child is absolutely impossible and has to be on drugs? You know why? You talk, B'shas Maisa. I can see it. You're not supposed to talk, B'shas Maisa. There's a reason. But what am I going to tell? I'm going to tell this couple it's your fault that your kid has this problem. They can't handle that. But then again, should we not say any, so that more people will make the same mistake? So what do you do? How do you tell people the reason you have cancer is because you smoke? What, are you trying to make them feel bad? No, I'm really sorry, but should I not tell anybody that smoking causes cancer and let everybody die? Because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings? There's this couple I'm talking to right now. You listen to how they talk to each other or what they complain about to each other. When they're intimate, she's on top. Or they keep changing, and they keep... There's something directly affected by that. They can't look at each other. I don't know, they don't. They sit side by side, having a conversation, and they don't look at each other. They're not eye to eye. They're not face to face. They weren't that way when they got married. So everything emotional, personal, these things work out. You adjust, she adjusts. But if you're messing with the rules, it's not worth it. It is very not worth it. So look it over again and take it seriously, because there is nothing unnecessary there. And you don't want to find out the hard way why it's necessary. But it really is. The Chachamim who wrote that were Chachamim, not Frumakis. Some Frumak decided he's going to tell everybody how to be tzniusdik. It was Chachamim. It's interesting that the Rebbe points out that sometimes we say Rizal and sometimes we say Chazal. Why? How do you know when to use what? There are times when what the Chachamim said is Ruchniusdik. Then you say Rabbi Seinu Zal. Sometimes what they're saying is Poshet Klug. Then you say Chachameinu Zal. All these things, Poshet smart. These are smart laws from real Chachamim. So don't take it lightly. It will make your long-term life a blessing. It avoids so many problems, issues. Don't read books on marriage. There's not a single good one. Don't read books on marriage. Read Shulchan Aruch. It's the only intelligent advice. Most of these frum books are psychology dressed up in a pasuk in a Maimer Chazal. Doesn't work. Should there be a book that Pasha tells you what Torah says? Yes, there should be. There isn't. There should be.
How about books that are educational, that those fields, other than this? What's the more psychology one?
It's poison.
How about books that are more health, let's say,
Medical. Medical, of course, should be a good, harmless, but every medical book starts to become a psychologist. If they could just stick to medicine, that would be okay.
Would you suggest better to stay away from things like what to expect when you're expecting all this kind of...
I didn't read the book, but is there a chapter there on emotions and feelings? And stay away from that. It's poison. I gotta tell you this interesting story. There was this program at the JCC years ago. The psychologist and his wife traveled and gave presentations about how to avoid arguments, how to diffuse a potential argument. And they play acted. He played the role of the angry husband and she was the angry wife, and how they get into a big fight or how they could avoid the fight. Right? So basically the psychology of it was, there are certain words that are triggers that upset people, and it's going to cause a fight. And the other words are more neutral, and it doesn't antagonize, it doesn't upset, it doesn't rile things up. So if you use those words, then there wouldn't be a fight. And they play acted it out this way, and they showed the difference. At the end, this woman gets up and she says, "Wonderful. That is exactly what you're supposed to do to avoid a fight. When my husband comes home from work, he wants to fight." What do you think, we get into a fight by accident? People who get into fights is because they want to. So you're telling me how not to. Thank you very much. Why shouldn't I? That's the question. If I didn't want to fight, I don't need your advice. I know what not to say if I don't want to fight. The problem is, either I want or he wants. So you didn't get to the core of the issue at all. Most psychology is that way. If you want to be nice, talk like this. Use your indoor voice. Right? If I want to be nice, I don't need your advice. I know how to be nice. My problem is, I don't want to. I am not nice. That's my problem. When it comes to that, the psychologist, I got nothing to say to you. Because in psychology, there is no halacha. Psychologists can't say, you have to be nice to your wife. They can't say that. They can only say, if you want to be nice, do this. Yeah, but if I want to be nice, I don't need to ask you. My problem is, why should I be nice when she's a nudnik?
A lot of books are written by Mashpia and Mabana, based on Sifis.
Are there? Really, there is?
Ask.
No, I don't know of any. I don't know of any.
Would it be okay if they would read books that are more medical, and just try to avoid them when it comes to...
Stay away from the emotional, psychological stuff. In general, let's broaden the subject here. In general, when an issue exists, whatever it may be, in marriage, in the community, in school, whatever it is, I don't know how we got into this terrible habit. The first thing that we think of is professional help. Bring in the experts, bring in the professionals. since when are they so smart to begin with? But worse than that, you sit and learn all your life, and you need somebody to come and help you who never opened up a sefer? Something's wrong. There's something wrong with that. I was speaking at a Pagisha here, and some Bachrim were hanging around. Afterwards, one Bacher came over to me and said, I think you would rather be a psychologist than a shliach. I said, no, I wouldn't. He said, oh, sure. I see. You would rather be a psychologist than a shliach. I said, no, I wouldn't. He said, I don't believe you. I said, why would I want to be a psychologist rather than a shliach when the psychologists come to me for advice? I was just invited to get together a group of psychologists and tell them what the world is going on because they haven't got a clue. Why, if you learn, if you have chassidus and you have hadracha and you need them? What's going on here? Chassidus doesn't give you advice? Chassidus doesn't make you a mensch? Chassidus doesn't answer your questions? Read it again.
Sometimes you need an outside objective opinion.
Yeah. That's what happens. You go outside, they tell you something that it says in Chassidus, and you say, oh wow, that's brilliant. Because if they don't tell you something that says in Chassidus, then it's not brilliant. Like this guy who went to a course, it cost him a fortune, but it was worth every penny because it taught him impulse control. I said, you mean iskafia? He says, that's what it means? That's what iskafia means? So, good morning. But you're right. If you hear impulse control, oh, now I know what you're talking about. You say iskafia, let me up, let me live. What do you want from my life? Why did iskafia get such a bad name? Because the guy who told you to have iskafia never has iskafia? That could be. The guy told you to have iskafia while he was eating his second dessert? That could be a problem. So what is the solution? You don't need a professional, a secular person, to translate iskafia for you. Why doesn't the yeshiva do that? Why can't a yeshiva say, iskafia means you develop impulse control? What, is that too hard to say? There was a couple in the Rebbe's room, got into a fight. Yeah. And the guy turned to the Rebbe and said, isn't she supposed to listen to me? What do you think the Rebbe said? By the way, that's the cruelest thing you can do, is to drag somebody into your fight, you know, like.
That means, like, if she would respect you, then she would.
Exactly. The Rebbe said, no. You have to behave in such a way that she wants to listen to you. Which in different words is this. She wants to listen to you. Not she has to. She wants to listen to you, but you're not letting her. Because you're not behaving in a way that allows her to listen to you, which she wants to do. In other words, she wants you to be the husband. So don't make it hard on her. Want me to read this? Is it correct that husband and wife should share all personal info, phone calls, texts, and anything that they do with their friends, etc.? Absolutely no. There's stuff you don't want to know. Don't go looking for trouble. Does a husband need to revolve his schedule around his wife's schedule? Sometimes. Like if she's making the money. Your schedule is a little more flexible than hers because she's working for a living. Yeah. See, here's a good, to use this as an example. In a healthy marriage, you're not constantly compromising. That's one of the great advice you're going to get from all these secular books. It's all about compromise. Yeah, divorce is all about compromise. You keep compromising, and you get divorced. That's how it works. Compromise is not a lifestyle. It's misery. Do you schedule yourself around your wife's life, or does she schedule her life around? Ideally, you have to have a life that your wife wants to be part of. No compromises. If your life is not something she wants to be part of, compromising is not going to help. So, changing the question a little bit, does your schedule revolve around her? Does your life revolve around her? If it does, you're teenagers having a date. This is not life. Your life is your life. Can't revolve around her. And if your life is a good one, and a meaningful one, and an appealing one, she will want to be part of it. That's what the Rebbe is saying. You behave in such a way that she wants to listen to you. Why does she want to listen to you? Who wants to listen to somebody else? Because you have a life she wants to be part of. So if you set the tone, if you establish a life, if you have a direction, if you have a purpose, and she's impressed, then she wants to follow you. Not because she's compromising. The problem is that with modern mishigas, we have this impression that marriage is 50-50. It's not. Marriage means you have a family, you run a house, you have a life, and your wife supports you. That's Eze Kenegde. But if it's 50-50, who's supporting whom? What life are you living? Whose life are you living? Everything falls apart. Compromise, the worst thing you can do. My father-in-law was a Chassidish Yid. Somebody was visiting his house on Pesach, and he noticed a product, I forget what it was, some in the house. And he said to my father-in-law, you use that on Pesach? So my father-in-law said, if I would do the shopping, and if I would make the menu, and if I would cook, and if I would clean up, and I would do the dishes, then I would eat what I want. She does the cooking, she does the shopping, she does the menu, and she cleans up the dishes. I eat what she wants. Is that compromise? That's not compromise. It's derech eretz. It's a good story to remember. It's not compromise. It's menschlichkeit. How do you show her you're there when you're not? If you're not, you're not. You can't show her that you are. Why does it take a year? Are you not a good Baal Hasbara? You are there and you can't convince her? Takes a year? Takes a year because first you have to convince yourself. But that's the goal. So if you're trying to make her happy, it's not going to work by just buying her stuff and giving her compliments. You got to bring yourself completely into her life so that she knows that you're there. That's why it takes a year, because you're not there yet either. When you get married younger, by the way, which I think would have been a good idea, people who get married younger don't have such a hard time allowing another person in their life, because they don't have such a fixed definition of themselves that is so disturbed by another person. And that's why it was so easy to get married when you're 15. When you're 15, you want to marry everybody. Now let's have a party.
Is that a problem?
What?
No, I'm saying that when it's done before you defined yourself, and then later, I'm saying eventually you're going to define yourself.
You define yourself with her, not without her. It works nice. Should a husband be involved in things that she like the books she reads in the house, secular books, and the friends she's goes out with, if you feel that they are not appropriate? Number 2, because we are so different, how can I know if things are going well between us, whether she's happy? And number 3, is there such a thing as being too Purush? And how can you balance? You don't want to be too Purush and make sure she's getting the pleasure that she should get. Should you be involved in the things that she does? Yes. But what depends what you mean by involved. Should you take an interest? Absolutely. This is your wife. Should you become part of that activity? Not necessarily. But show an interest.
Should you be monitoring?
Monitoring.
Lack of a better word.
Like a secret camera or something? You want to? No. No, you shouldn't be monitoring. You should trust her completely. You don't have to monitor anything. But there are things that she does that you don't want to do, but you have to show an interest because she does. If you're not interested, that's a dismissal. That's a rejection.
Facebook, like she likes going on Facebook.
Mm-hmm. Ask her what's interesting.
One of the things that you don't do the shit because you're against it. Too bad.
Yep. Until she learns to be like you, you got to show an interest. You can't ignore. But you also don't have to become part of it. So she goes out with her friends. You want to go with her? But should you take an interest? How was it? What happened? Sure. If they're so different, how do you ever know if she's happy? You would have to be very insensitive, really out to lunch, to live with a person and not know if she's happy. And even if you have to ask her, there's something wrong. Usually if you have to ask her, you probably won't believe her what she tells you anyway. Are you happy? Yeah. No, really, are you sure? Yeah. I'm not convinced. So you're just asking for trouble. You know what? You should be able to tell without having to ask. Number 3. Oh, the question is like this, really. You see that she's not happy. Because you're not stupid. You can see. She's not happy. You're just not sure whether it's about you or some other problem. And you're hoping it's not you. So to find out what she's not happy about, that's number 3. Can you be too much Porush? It depends. If you're doing what you're supposed to do because you're supposed to do it, then it can't be too much. If it's a personal thing, you're Porush because of personal feelings, that could be too much. And that you have to get beyond that. To make sure that she's getting the pleasure she should get. That's one of the things you should not read books about. Because look at how dangerous this thing is. She should get the pleasure. Make sure that she's getting the pleasure that she should get. She should get what? She should get the pleasure that she's supposed to get. What kind of pleasure is she supposed to get? Nobody really knows. This is dangerous business. Somebody's going to determine how much pleasure she should get, and then you have to live up to that. This is bad news. The main question is she enjoying and getting pleasure from you? Not from the apartment, from the furniture, from the clothing. Is she getting pleasure from you? That's the only pleasure she should get. Everything else is negotiable. To what extent should I enforce standards? During intimacy, what should be the mindset? This isn't Chassidish, but she enjoys it, or Edel. Edelkeit is a ladder. You grow, you climb the ladder, you get better and better. That's why on the one hand, Shulchan Aruch says that whatever a husband and wife want to do is mutter. Do whatever you want. That's the beginning. Now, in terms of Edelkeit, in terms of bringing something higher and more noble, this is a ladder. Hopefully you climb the ladder and you get better with time rather than the other way around. For a woman, it's clear that Isha Ksheda is Eiser Etzain Baila. Whatever the husband wants to do, the wife is doing the right thing by doing what he wants, even though it's not her standard of Edelkeit. But if she's an Isha Ksheda, she does what her husband wants. Doesn't mean that she shouldn't be Eiser Etzain Baila, make him want better things. So both things are true. What about the husband? Is there a virtue for the husband, Laseis Retzein Ishtei, if it's not according to his standard? That's a little more complicated. That's a matter of, Chalil Olav Shabbos Echad, Kedei what is it? Sheyishmer Shabbos is Harbe. Which way do you gain more? If you do what she wants, even though it's not your standard, will that lead to better standards? If you don't do it, will that lead to worse things? You gotta make a judgment call. But generally, whatever it is that works, whatever it is that you do, your objective should be to get better with time. And in this area, the mindset is more important even than the actual activity. So as Chassidim, somebody said, I think it was Gershon Mendel, he said a Masnagid is very serious about the 2 weeks that you're not allowed to touch. A chassid is very serious about the 2 weeks that you do touch. So, as chassidim, we don't want to be victims of our nefesh habahamis. We want to use our nefesh habahamis to our benefit, not the other way around. So the mindset is more important even than not to lose control, not to become a victim of the nefesh habahamis' needs or wants. So it doesn't mean don't do it. It means even when you're doing it, don't become a victim. Stay sane. And the result is that your wife respects you more. So even if sometimes you have to say no about certain things, if you're consistent, if you're nice about it, she will respect you more than if you just do whatever she wants. And the truth is, she wants you to set. She wants to listen to you. She just has to learn, get comfortable with it. She wants you to be her first responder instead of her father. So here's the bottom line. Generally, a woman is much more lost, much more helpless than the husband, because she's ready to give up everything, including her name, and she doesn't know what she's getting in exchange. It's a very scary thing.
And the husband does?
He's not giving up his name.
He doesn't know what he's getting himself into.
That's true. But it's not as scary. It's not as... She wants to follow you completely and trust you completely, and she doesn't know if she can. It's a pretty scary thing. So every consideration, sincere, not compromise, but every sincere consideration is helpful and goes a long way, because she really needs, she's really in trouble, and she needs that reassurance. She needs your rachmanus. So being considerate and being thoughtful and being supportive is not a compromise. And it's not like you're losing self-respect. It's not like you're losing the game or the battle or the contest. You're not losing anything. She really is in trouble. She really needs your help. And if you give it, you're doing the right thing. It's not a weakness or a dependency or an embarrassment. So if you have to say to your friends, I have to go home now because my wife is upset, or that's not embarrassing. Oh, your wife's upset, you have to go? Yeah, you have to go. If your wife wants to move and you have a job here and don't have a job where she wants to move and don't feel ready, what to do? And number two, you said making your wife happy will make you happy. But what if things are in the what if things are in the way? For example, the job is not good, not enough money, don't feel like a good husband or father. And number three, in life in general, how do you overcome Mashiach? Like, for example, Mashiach coming, but every day he doesn't come. It's frustration. So how do you stay patient while you're waiting for good things to happen? As a rule, a wife goes where the husband's job takes him. And if your wife doesn't agree with that, then somebody has to just straighten her out on this. That's the way things are. A wife goes where a husband's job takes him. If there's a particular reason that the wife wants to move, then you got to consider how serious is that. If she really can't be in this place, then you go where she can have a life. So if there's a serious issue, like for example, if you had asthma and you had to live in Arizona, what's the question? If she has asthma, she has to live in Arizona. What's the question? What do you do if you have a disagreement and you just can't seem to work it out? And it's something you need to make a decision about. It's very useful if you have a mashpia and she has a mashpia, and somebody can resolve this stalemate. Checkmate. Number two, you said making your wife happy will make you happy, but what if things are in the way? In other words, you're not happy about your job or about money. You don't feel like you're a good husband, so it's not that she is not making you happy. There are other things in life not making you happy, which is normal. Which is one of the reasons you have a wife, because after you suffer from the unhappiness that your life is producing, like at your job and your money and the bank and then you can come home to your wife and be happy with her at least. Then you can go back the next day and face the same miserable life that you... But if you're not happy with your wife, then you got nothing to come home to. Then everything becomes much more difficult. So when I say making your wife happy will make you happy in the relationship, and then you can tolerate the unhappiness caused by gashmiistic external things. In life in general, how do you overcome the frustrations? Well, there are two things. One is, and this is probably what secular advisors would tell you, it's temporary. You know it's temporary. Remind yourself that it's temporary and look forward to good things. That's true, but it takes a lot of maturity. What's even better is until it gets better, this problem is supposed to be here. There are no mistakes. So if there's a difficult day, that difficulty was supposed to be here. Hopefully tomorrow it won't be. But if it is, that's life. That's part of what needs to happen. There's something necessary, something important about what is going on. Life won't begin when it gets better. This is life. And whatever comes better later will be the result of what's going on now. So if Mashiach doesn't come, of course it's disappointing. But that means that there's something happening now that is important. It's been said that intimacy can be the ultimate bonding between husband and wife, or the ultimate pain. Can you elaborate? Intimacy either brings you closer or turns you off. It either gives you more respect for each other or less respect for each other. If it's done with edelkeit, it doesn't diminish your respect. If it's done without edelkeit, it always diminishes your respect. So it can be the best, it can be the worst. And that's why there's so much emphasis on what's right and what's good and what's important and what's edel and what's in the bedroom. Because that affects the rest of your life as well. On top of the Kodesh HaKadoshim, there was a room that it was called Cheder HaMites. Of course, there were no beds there. It had like a little box that a worker could go into, and if the walls of the Kodesh HaKadoshim needed fixing, he would go in on top, get into the box, and they would lower the box down up against the wall so that he's enclosed from all 5 sides, and he fixes what he needs to then they lift him up so he's not in the base, in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. So basically that was the room from which you could fix the Kodesh HaKadoshim. And that room was called Cheder HaMites. So Kodesh HaKadoshim means a married life. If something in your married life needs to be fixed, that room from which you fix it is called Cheder HaMites. If everything is good in the bedroom, then the rest of the marriage, the rest of the life can get fixed. So if you follow the rules, even though they seem to be difficult or they seem to be actually causing problems, in the long run, if you're following the rules, it will not only make the bedroom good, it'll heal everything. If the bedroom is not good, so there's no place or no time when you need to be more sensitive, more considerate, more responsible than in the bedroom. And that doesn't mean that you have to be serious and you have to be strict and you have to do what's right. That's not the same thing. If you're getting uptight about it, if you're becoming too much of a porush, there was this couple that were having a problem. I don't know if it was a marriage problem or just a fertility problem. And the Rebbe said, Taras ha-mishpacha al pi shulchan aruch. So the woman went back to her mashpia, to her Rav, and said, let's go over the laws again, because obviously I'm not doing something right. They went over it, mamish, detail by detail, with a magnifying glass. She got it all right. The problem didn't go away. She wrote again, and the Rebbe said, Taras ha-mashpach al pi shulchan aruch. She went back to her mashpia, they went over it again. All the chumras, everything she could think of. Finally, she went to a Rav, I think Zalman Shimon. She said, the Rebbe keeps telling me to be machmir in Taras HaMishpacha, and it's not helping. He took a look at the answer and he said, the Rebbe is telling you not to be machmir. The Rebbe said, do it al pi shulchan aruch, stop with your own chumras. Al pi shulchan aruch means, don't be mishugge. Do what it says, wer nicht mishugge. Don't become more frum than the Shulchan Aruch. So, if you do it right, you don't become frummer than the Shulchan Aruch, You don't become uptight. You don't become overly serious. You don't become a Shulchan Aruch. If that's a little complicated, then you have to ask her of the specific details, whatever. But don't lose your head. If you're a mensch in the bedroom, you have a wife who respects you. Shalom Aleichem. How are you? You know, I do a lot of talking, a lot of Zooming, many classes, many subjects, but that's all formal stuff. Hopefully good stuff, but formal. We also have a Wednesday night meeting that's more informal and kind of Hamish. If you want to join us for that kind of an event, interactive, time for questions and so on. If you want to join us for this side of conversation, click on the link below and join us every Wednesday night at 9 o'clock. Well, maybe not every Wednesday night, but we try to make it every Wednesday night at 9 o'clock, a more informal chat, which can be more enjoyable at times than the formal stuff. So check it out. Click on the link and join us. Try it. You'll like it.